Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears, for today we are making history. For the first time ever, we are hosting a TEDx event inside of a Missouri prison. I want to begin by expressing gratitude to the Department of Corrections for allowing us this opportunity, former Director Ann Preside for laying the groundwork, Interim Director Trevor Foley for allowing us to continue with this endeavor, as well as our warden, Teri Vandergriff, our case manager and Farmington liaison to TEDx, yes. Our case manager and Farmington liaison to TEDx, Matt Petty, as well as our event coordinators, Delia Cohen and Ann Rice, for making all of this possible. Thank you so much. I want to also thank all of our outside guests for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here with us today. It means so much to have your support. And just rules of the house, I will ask that all of our outside guests, if you have managed to bypass the complimentary PAT searches provided by the Department of Corrections, please make sure that you have turned in all of your keys, your phones, and your shanks in at the front. You can't have those here. Not allowed. A few housekeeping notes. The restrooms are located up the steps, and to the right, there is one designated for residents, as well as a restroom for all of our outside guests. And if that is occupied, we have some people right out front that can lead you to the next facility. Now, if you're unsure who is who, all the residents here that are part of the TEDx Planning Committee are wearing the gray polos, and the rest of our fellow residents are the individuals in the gray uniforms that have the gray pants featuring the ever so fashionable elastic waistbands. This year-round apparel is provided by the Department of Corrections, so do your best to never have to wear a pair of them. But please, feel free to talk to as many of us as you can as the day goes on. Believe it or not, there are a lot of remarkable guys in this room with powerful stories to tell. Just remember, no matter how much you enjoy and are impacted here today, no, you cannot take us home with you when you leave. I wish. We're also joined by several staff members who work at this institution, as designated by the red t-shirts with the word staff printed on them. Wave at us, guys. All right. So, should you happen to, I don't know, doze off and awake suddenly, don't do what I did and mistake these people for employees of Target, okay? They work here, and they're able to help you or answer any questions you may have. Plus, I wouldn't recommend falling asleep in random places while in prison anyway. TED Talks, TED standing for Technology, Entertainment, and Design, are about ideas worth spreading. And the idea we want to spread comes in the form of a question. What's love got to do with it? How did we arrive at this thing? I'm glad you asked. Did a group of us hardened inmates put our pride to the side in an effort to ease and appease the sentiments of a curious public? Hell no. And that's actually a direct quote from one of our committee members when the theme of love was first presented. We argued back and forth, some of us cringing at the idea of that being the word used to capture a message that we would have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to present. When considering what some of society's preconceived notions about incarceration may be, and the most important ideas we wanted to convey, love was out of the question. So we tabled the discussion and exited the room aggressively, even more bothered by the thought that our event coordinators, two random white women, Delia and Ann, excitedly expressed to us inmates that talking about love was a good idea. When our case manager and Farmington liaison and one of the hardest working men I know, Matt Petty, said we would be doing TED Talks, this wasn't in the cards. I thought to myself, good thing Matt is hardworking, because he's going to have to work overtime to sell this idea. So the committee members all went on doing what we normally do, working our jobs, attending our classes. For many of us, our norm is not the violence and danger that you see depicted in media, even though those are very real aspects of incarceration. For many of us, our norms include constructive problem solving to try to prevent violence on the yard, helping a friend study to pass their high school equivalency test, sharing food with a guy who's hungry but has no financial support, and being present and dependable when a fellow inmate suffers a loss or a death in the family. When the committee returned to rediscuss our theme, conversation began contentiously. Then all of a sudden, as if receiving direct insight from the late Tina Turner herself, one of our committee leaders spoke up and asked the room, "Hey, what's love got to do with it?" And just then, as every man's proverbial light bulb clicked on, our event coordinators, those two random white women, looked at us with the grins of a prophetic sage and said, "I think we got it." What's love got to do with it? I invite you to tune in with your ears, your eyes, and your hearts, because if you listen closely and receive without judgment, it is that very question that we will attempt to answer. Y'all ready to begin? All right. Well, it is an honor and a privilege to present our first speaker, a man who I have grown respect for over time. He's always carried himself as an individual of hope and optimism, but my respect for him multiplied when he shared with me his story. Not because of the story itself, but because he daily reflects this truth, that you cannot change your past, but you can positively impact your tomorrow with the hope that you bring with you each day. Please help me welcome Kenneth Stotts.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yep. On the evening of October 28th, 2016, my father and I got into a crazy, hours-long altercation over my alcohol and drug abuse. My father just wanted the best for me. He despised watching the drugs and alcohol strengthening their grip on me. We had had our struggles over the years, and we both had been drinking that night. What started off as an argument ended in the unthinkable. It's hard to even say the words now, but I killed him. I committed an irreversible act I could never take back. The tragic part has two parts. Part one, he is no longer here. And part two, I am the reason. I could have walked away once the argument escalated, but I did not. I had a choice that night. We all have choices. And if we aren't careful, those choices can have serious consequences. My actions that evening caused a tsunami of pain and trauma throughout my family. I took a husband away from my mother, a father from my 3 older brothers and myself. I took a grandfather from their children and mine, and removed myself from being a father to my 2 children due to my incarceration. I stole love away from those closest to me, and there's no one doing that. Moreover, it was not just one horrible choice, but a series of bad choices years in the making. I chose to love drugs and alcohol over everything. My family, myself. I lost complete sight of what was truly important. For the first few months in county jail, I tried reaching out to family, especially my mother, to no avail. My Uncle Robert, however, did come to see me a couple weeks after being locked up. He was the exception, but we did not speak again for quite some time. I was sick, shattered, and broken from the pain of what I'd done. It was around the 3-month mark that a fellow inmate reached out to me. And I will never forget what he said. He said, "Kenny, I'm gonna have my grandma call your mother." I was like, "What?" He followed by saying, "I'm gonna have my grandma call your mom and ask if she'll accept a phone call." I replied, "Wow, thank you so much." So his grandma did get in touch with my mom, and she said that my mom would like to hear from me. That was a powerful moment. A person I barely knew stepped out and extended love in my direction from inside a jail. So I called my mother, and we both just cried. She would not answer my calls until this point, and she had every right, because she was shattered. My mother mentioned a commercial that frequently played during the time we did not speak, where a young man was calling out Mom. It caught her attention because she said that she felt that was my voice crying out for her. That commercial, along with the fellow inmate's selfless act, was my lifeline. I was self-conscious about the misty eyes, but to my surprise, several others came to see if I was all right and wanted to know how the call went. This was a major paradigm shift from the preconceived ideal I had of jail and prison. This spark of love would ignite the beginning of a beautiful but painful journey fueled by love. That was 7 years ago, and my mother and I now have a bond that is stronger than ever. It took several difficult years to mend our relationship, to put the pieces back together. I had to lay all those pieces out and explain each one to her, one by one, even if it hurt. It was no longer about me. It was time to be quiet, be still, answer questions, and listen. Her world was crushed and her spirit broken. She deserved healing. The truth needed to be brought to light. Responsibility, accountability, and humility on my part paved the way for her healing. I had to stop talking and start changing. People don't want to hear about how you're going to change. They want to see it. My Uncle Robert, who is my mother's brother, has always been a special blessing for our family. Having 11 siblings, he was asked by my grandmother when he was younger if he would take on the task of keeping the family together. He promised her that he would, and well, he stands good on that promise even to this day. He warned me about a year prior to incarceration that I would end up dead or in prison if I did not let go of the drugs and alcohol and regain control of my life. He was nearly right. My father ended up dead, and me in prison because I failed to heed his warning. He tried getting my attention throughout the years through long talks and interventions, but I never listened. Just months after my mother and I reconnected, he and I began speaking. And the first thing he told me was that after that visit in county jail, he went out to his truck and cried for an hour. He was torn, just like the others in the family. He also revealed that he was the person the family chose and designated to read my father's eulogy. He spoke on forgiveness and told everyone that's what my father would want. He, along with my mother, have been there for me since the beginning of this journey. He has been my life coach and mentor, and he is celebrating 30 years of sobriety from alcohol and drugs himself. He tells me often he's glad he made the decision to be in my life. Today, those two are my biggest supporters. Together, the three of us have grown through this experience immensely, and their love saved my life. 4 years ago, we were visiting, and they both told me I should live the rest of my life and honor my father. I was struggling at that time with severe depression and no sense of hope or direction. I accepted that pledge and now live each day for my father. My life now has purpose. My mother feels that my father paid the ultimate price to help me and my children. She believes that if this incident did not take place, then I would be dead. Making that decision to dedicate my life to my father was the best choice of my life. It reframed how I viewed my situation and gave me hope and the determination to turn this tragedy into something positive, especially for my father. That simple declaration created transformation and gave me the power to transcend my circumstances. To this day, I cannot stand to see drugs or alcohol. It breaks my heart to witness the devastation and destruction the two bring into this world. I feel my purpose is to also help anyone who struggles with chemical dependence. I have been there, and it's miserable. I would like to let you all know that the addict is not a bad person, but a broken one who needs help. If you're an addict, please reach out for help. Talk to someone about it. Do not be ashamed. You're not alone. I can boldly stand here today and attest to the power of love. There is no force more powerful. The heroes of the story are my mother and my uncle. My mother has fully forgiven me, as well as my uncle. They tell me that my transformation inspires them. The crazy part is that I could not inspire them without them inspiring me through love and forgiveness. Because of them, I have also begun speaking to my brother Benji over the past year. He has also stated that he's forgiven me. There is power and love in forgiveness. There's also power and love in taking full responsibility and accountability for our actions. The key to opening all these doors in the heart is to forgive and love yourself. That is the only way you will be able to move forward, to love and forgive others. When it comes to forgiving someone, you have to make that decision for yourself. But I will say, there's freedom on the other side of it. The first person to experience that freedom is you. Stop holding grudges with those you love. When you live your life for someone or something greater than yourself, it becomes more beautiful and gratifying. Coming to prison ended my self-imposed prison term. To my beloved children, Madison and Owen, I'm so sorry I could not be present in your lives. You deserve better, but please know that I love you with every ounce of my being and I miss you. To my mother and Uncle Robert, I love you and owe everything to you. To Tommy, Brian, Benji, and the rest of the family, I'm sorry you had to endure this tragedy I caused. I love you guys. To the addict, know that you are loved and that you have value. Life is not easy, but it's still beautiful, especially through sobriety. And to my fellow inmate, you are loved as well. I see the hurt behind the frustration. And to anyone else out there, know that life gets better only through love. And to the world, we could be so much better if we focused on love more than we do hate. And if we judge people on their stories instead of their shortcomings. And to my father, Dad, this talk is dedicated to you. I'm so sorry. I miss you. And I love you. Thank you.
Kenny, thank you so much for that powerful story and the transparency that you were willing to share. Quick question, how many of you all, this is your first time down, first time in prison? Okay, all right. Well, let me introduce something to you. Prisons have their own slang, okay? We don't go to dinner, we go to chow. When we're tired, we don't lay down, we press our bunks. Have you ever heard somebody say, "That's my dog"? Believe it or not, sometimes that's literal. Because Farmington is one of many institutions in the state that have a dog training program where we bring in dogs from local shelters, turn them over to dog handlers who train them and prepare them for adoption and send them back out into society. The commonalities between these animals and their handlers is almost striking. Here to tell us more about it, please welcome Mr. William Carrico.
I was raised different than most. I grew up in a self-sustaining environment, meaning we grew our own food, raised livestock, and worked hard every day. My folks didn't celebrate any holidays, so there weren't any gifts on my birthday or at Christmas. My folks did the best they knew how with what they had, even though that was little to nothing. As taxing as my childhood was, it forced my mind to grow up and made me realize that life was going to be an endless struggle, and I learned the value of $1. With a view like mine, you see everything as a tool, and you wonder how that tool can earn you happiness. I believed that happiness is something you've earned, not what you found. I viewed dogs the same way, as a tool I used for hunting so I could put food on my plate. A dog was not my friend. Tools don't need to be loved to work. If a tool breaks, I'll just get a new one. I realized how wrong I was for treating my dogs like tools, but I only realized this after I came to prison. I bumped into a friend in this prison I hadn't seen in 4 years. He had always been a bitter, crass person. But my anger-filled friend had completely changed. He told me it was all due to this Puppies for Parole program, or P4P, that he was involved in. That was it. I got involved, and out of a decade of Department of Corrections offered help, nothing has ever came close to rehabilitation other than P4P for me. P4P not only changed my way of thinking, but opened my eyes to how my old lifestyle was self-destructive. With P4P, I could relate to the dogs. This might be that dog's last chance at a life. People just give up on you. But in reality, what that dog needs is guidance, forgiveness, time, and most of all, love. Without all those things, that dog lives a sad life until it is deemed unwanted and sent to a kill shelter. P4P has made me responsible in ways that I never would have came to on my own. Caring for a dog and rehabilitating that dog has in turn rehabilitated me. I get excited every time a new dog comes in and knows nothing.
Go get your toy. Hey, get your toy. Wrong one. Here, toy. Yes, good boy. Put your toy up. Missed. Toy up. Missed again. Put your toy up. Yes, good boy. You knew what you was doing. Leash. Get the leash. Wrong leash. Leave it. This way. Leash. You're making me a fool. Hey, leave it. This way. Give me this. Keep you excited. Leash. Good boy. Bring it. Yes. Wait. Wait. Get your toy. Get the toy. Yes. Through. Yes. Good boy. Good boy. Hold it. Put it up. Put your toy up. Yes. Good boy. Hey, paws on the wall. Stay. Pat search. Paws on the wall. Stay. Pat search. Paws on the wall, sir. Pat search. Good boy. Off. Yes. Good boy.
You can watch your progress grow in the dog. Thank you. You can watch your progress grow in the dog and know you've done it. It's euphoric. But when that dog is ready to be adopted out, it's wrenching. P for P makes better dogs as well as better people. I have seen the change in other handlers who were just as much lost souls as I was, if not worse. It was that change in others that got me interested in the first place. P for P has been a wonderful change in my life and the lives of some forgotten dogs. I thank Puppies for Parole for the help and the love it gives to the dogs and its handlers. When I am released from prison, my dream is to continue working with animals. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Carrico, and I'm not supposed to do this, but Jan, after seeing that, can Matt please have a dog? Think about it, okay. When I was first asked to MC this event, I established an ultimatum that I knew would get me out of the job. I said the only way I will agree to do this is if you convince the warden to do an on-stage interview with me live. I knew I had just finessed my way out of a responsibility. But she agreed. Shocked by this progress, I asked, how did this miracle happen? And they expressed that it was no miracle at all. That our warden said she would not ask anything of her residents or staff that she would not be willing to do herself. So please welcome me for an exclusive interview with our warden, Teri Vandergriff. Welcome, please. All right, so as my contract says, interview with no conduct violations.
We'll see how it goes.
Okay, all right. So I want to begin by asking, considering the magnitude of what's taking place here today, first ever TEDx event inside of a Missouri prison, out of more than 20 plus DOC facilities in the state, why do you think Farmington was chosen for this first historic opportunity?
I think that can be summed up in one word of, well, maybe two, persistence and accident. So we were having conversations here about what we wanted the vision for Farmington Correctional Center to be. And so we built this reentry center, and I kept saying, I want to have TED Talks. And I couldn't articulate really what I was trying to say with anything else than TED Talks, where we bring in people, we have leadership discussions, we have just different topics about growth and opportunities and just doing better for ourselves. So I kept saying TED Talk, TED Talk, TED Talk. And we couldn't come up with another word, but there was one suggestion of Teri's tantrums. That was a no. So I kept saying that, and so I was going to meetings with central office and different things, and I kept saying TED Talks. So our previous director, Ann Preside, happened to have a run-in with Dillian Ann from TED Talk, and so I think that persistence in misusing the word TED Talk all the time, that I was the only institution that came to mind. So I believe that's how we are here today.
Awesome, wow, okay. So persistence. When you say that, it makes me kind of wonder, there has to be some persistence that brought you to this place. Out of everything that you could have chosen, why a career in the Department of Corrections?
Well, I can tell you that at no point in my childhood did I say, when I grow up, I want to run a prison.
Really?
So I think like everybody, you're not really sure what you want to be when you grow up, and when you grow up, you still don't know what you want to be. And I had a background in substance abuse, and I had decided while I was attending college that I wanted to be a parole officer. And so one of my instructors worked for the department, and he said, okay, if you want to do that, you really should become a correctional officer so that you can really understand about correctional facilities and what they do and how they operate and understand the population. So I did that. I hired in as a correctional officer. And then, you know, I enjoyed the job, and kind of weird that I found my calling. I enjoy what I do, and I was good at it. And that's how I ended up here. So I've held different roles throughout the department, and the funny thing is I have never been a parole officer. And so here I am, killing it, running a prison.
All right. And so I think it's especially by now, you know that prisons can be difficult places. It's difficult on the resident population, but it is also a challenge for staff, and especially with society paying more attention to mental health and considering how stressful the job can be. I would like to know from a leadership perspective, how do you bounce back from bad days?
Well, I think perspective is what matters. And when you have bad days, you only know what a bad day is because you've experienced good days. And so you have to remember that they're not all bad days, they're not all good days. And sometimes when you can't find that perspective, it's something that I teach my kids, I say it in my house, I say it to my friends, I say it here. Go to bed. It's amazing the perspective you can get after a good night of rest and a new morning. And so when you can't find that, just go to bed.
Awesome. I have a lot of sleeping I need to do. That's good. So when I was talking to Mr. Petty, he was telling us about a situation where you guys were in a room and there was a conversation that was being had, and he was sharing this with us in the context of reentry and how dedicated you are to reentry. And he said that he overheard you consistently kind of say to yourself this mantra, remember why we're here, remember what we're doing. What was the story behind that?
Well, I actually had to be reminded of this because I talk to myself a lot. So there's no telling what we were doing when I was saying that. But so we were having a staff meeting sort of at that beginning phase of reentry and launching into this vision that we have. And I had all my staff in there, and we were talking about things we could do, thinking outside of the box. And as people are throwing ideas, one of them had come up, and I said, no, absolutely not, no. And then I had to catch myself. And if you're trying to shake off old mindsets, and you're trying to move forward, and you're trying to foster an environment of change, it's very easy to go into what you know and just say no, and not really know why you're saying no. So I was talking to myself because I had immediately said no, and then I had to keep reminding myself, okay, why are we here? What are we doing? And are we moving toward that vision and that goal? Or do we really need to consider, why are we saying no? And so the other takeaway from that is people are listening, and maybe I should have those conversations with myself just in my head.
I understand. Staff, you heard it here first. The answer is not always no first. You heard it. Can you share with us some of the accomplishments that you are most proud of here at this facility?
I like to brag on this facility. I would say that probably one of the most tangible things that you can see is our reentry center. That's been a goal for us. We are a large facility, and the vast majority of our offenders will go home. And so that center has been very important to us. It's important to us as a facility. And it's important because it's not just a building with a couple of staff in it. This has been, and this is the thing that we've talked about, it has to be all of us It has to be our maintenance staff. It has to be our teachers. It has to be our librarian. It has to be everybody moving toward this vision. So I'm proud of that physical structure, but more than anything, I am proud of the environment that we are creating here and everybody being on board and everybody moving in that direction. And it takes a lot to turn a ship, and it takes all of us, and that's what we've done. And I could not say that Farmington is an outstanding facility, both from those who live here, the residents, and from the staff who work here.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's good. I'm curious, considering this out-of-the-box theme, what's love got to do with it? What would you say that theme means to you?
Well, I have to admit that even I was surprised when that was selected as a theme.
I know, right?
I thought, okay, because love isn't a common topic in prison.
Right.
But if you're having honest conversations, isn't it really kind of at the top of the conversation? We talk about love, acceptance, morality, humanity, and we always think of prisons as being void of all of that. But when you think about it, that just means there's lots of opportunity for love to grow. And when you look around, I hope that what people see is how many people love what they do and what they're doing. I love my job. I love the ability to have an impact on others. And I love that we get those opportunities to look around and allow others to grow and love who they are and what they can do and what they can contribute, because it's important that you learn to love yourself. And so my job is to help create that environment, instead of being void of love, being full of love. And that's what it means to me.
That's awesome. I love that response. I love that. So as we look around and as people are coming in, we're noticing there are a lot of guests, a lot of visitors who have never been inside of an institution before. So what is something that you would want our visitors to take away from being here today and sharing this experience with us?
I hope that what is taken away is that Hollywood has it wrong of what prisons look like
So it's
and
not
what
like
happens.
the longest yard?
No,
Okay.
but I do love a good football game.
Okay.
Prisons aren't what they would have you believe. That all across the nation, all across Missouri, there has been so much growth and change that I hope what you can take away is that there's, one, so much going on, and that we are creating an environment that produces that love, but also that there's opportunities for people to come in and participate and contribute to that, and that we're all just people here, every last one of us. So that's what I hope you can take away.
That's awesome, and I definitely appreciate it. I want our guests to know that we are grateful here for your progressive approach to incarceration, doing things differently, and it makes a difference. I want to close out with one last question, and it's a question that I saw on an interview some years ago. A gentleman was having a conversation with the late Maya Angelou, and he asked her, knowing that she was close friends with Malcolm X, he asked her, he said, what is something that you would want the world to know about Malcolm that they probably don't know? And her response was that Malcolm had a wonderful sense of humor, and that history does a bad job to following generations because they paint these people as larger than life, and in reality, they're just human. So my question for you would be, what would you want the world to know about Teri Vandergriff that they may not already know?
So the first thing that comes to mind is I'm a terrible cook. Probably not what. No, really, I think what I would like for everyone to take away from that question is warden is just a job title. It's nothing more, nothing less. So throughout the day, and if you're doing your job and you're doing your job well, I'm only the warden when I need to be. The rest of the time, I'm a mentor, I'm a leader, I'm a problem solver, I'm a friend, a counselor to everyone. And so when you look at the people who work in prisons or who are incarcerated in prisons, they're more than one title. There's just so many facets to a person. So to sum somebody up with a job description is not really a great service. So
that's awesome. Well, we just made history. Ladies and gentlemen, Teri Vandergriff.
And you don't get a conduct violation.
Thank you. That's really cool. You guys heard it here. No conduct violation for me. All right? Lock it in. Next, we have a very, very special presentation, but I want to share with you just a little bit of background before we begin, okay? Now, understand that by combining soulful lyrics and rhythmic melodies, Chuck Berry helped introduce the world to rock and roll. And this St. Louis native in 1983 held a concert in Missouri State Penitentiary with the assistance of our next presenter, his fourth cousin. Now, it's important to note that it is this person's dream to be able to one day visit other prisons to sing songs of hope to the incarcerated. Please help me welcome Mr. Irving Berry. All right, young man.
My take on prison is love is the only answer to be free. Like the song, my song. Love is in this place. Listen to the song. In this place, we call prison. In this place, that's not my home. I know that love, come on, will see me through. Yes, in this place, oh, call my home. In this place, come on, we call prison. In this place, that troubles my soul. I know that love will see me through. Yes, in this place, oh, my home, save my soul. Yeah, don't let me wonder. Keep my heart, yeah, from going asunder. Don't leave my soul in hell. My Lord, please let me know all is well. When I feel the pain of prison in this place, when death seems to roll, I know that love will see me through. Yeah, in this place, I won't call my home. Save my soul, yeah. Don't let me wonder. Keep my heart going asunder. Don't leave my soul in this hell. My Lord, please let me know all is well. Love is in this place, in this prison. Your love's in this place, in this prison. Love's in this place, in this prison. Your love's in this place, in this prison.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Berry. And I'm gonna need some of y'all to learn how to catch a beat, okay? Not gonna point anybody out, but it's rhythm, okay? We'll get it together. Stop laughing, I know what you're laughing at, don't do it. Okay, soulful, spiritual, insightful, and enlightened. These are all words that can be used to describe our next presenter. But also bilingual, not in the traditional sense, he speaks English, but he also speaks poetry, an art form that it is a language unto itself. So what I want to talk about is a man who is coming from a place of depth and being to share thoughts and concepts that might otherwise go unspoken of or unaddressed. Here to share with us a little something about everything, please welcome Brother Tyrone Adams.
Thank you very much, Mark, for that beautiful introduction. My legal name is Tyrone Adams. Ta'u is an Akan of Ghana male name meaning lion. Kamau is a Kiku'u of Kenya male name meaning quiet warrior. And Adwin is a Swahili term of endearment that means artist or thinker. This is a name that reflects and represents the man that I am today. The name change from Tyrone Keith Adams to Ta'u Kamau Adwin stems from my love of words and an affinity with African heritage and culture. I'm originally from Kansas City, born and raised by my adopted mother, Ethel Lee Dotson. She is and was the unwavering, unstoppable, and influential force behind my love of words. She was illiterate. However, her wisdom far exceeded any academic and scholarly writings I encountered. As a child, she would have me read to her, and when I stumbled across a word, she would have me sound it out. Now, how she knew the meaning of these words and how to properly pronounce them is still a mystery to me today. She made her physical transition Mother's Day, 1999. But before she left, she had given me so much love and grace, though I was her prodigal son. I am reminded of her telling me to speak intelligent, talk like you got some sense, boy. So, of course, I excelled in language arts, science, social studies, and other literature classes while in school. But it was something about poetry that made my pre-adolescent days more adventurous and imaginative, especially when I wanted the attention from the girls. Now, during my teenage years, I was a bad boy. I was in and out of juvenile, group homes, and foster homes. I was always told that I was an endangered species, that I won't see 18, and if I do, I won't see 21, that I'll either be dead or in jail. My love of writing and poetry never waned, and many times, poetry became the only outlet for me to release things in my heart that caused me pain. I recall my bond with Mr. Montgomery, a teacher at McCune School for Boys. He would give me books to read such as The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, the autobiography of Malcolm X, and poetry by poets such as Langston Hughes, Nikki Giovanni, Sonia Sanchez, Maya Angelou, and many more. This ultimately led me to write about things such as race, African agency, resistance, art, indigenous culture, blackness, and so on. I consistently wrote about the plight of Africans in the diaspora until release from state custody in 1995. Upon returning to the streets, I found myself cycling back in and out of the system. Now, while inside, I would spit poetry to men in my pod, but upon release, I would lose my collection of poetry and return to an irresponsible lifestyle. As of today, I have writings from 2011 to the present. I remain unpublished, but not unheard, having appeared in clubs and even on radio. So what's love got to do with this? For me, love has been a through line leading me to the present. The love of my adopted mother and other strong women early in my life gave me a foundation of courage upon which to share this poetry with others. For this, I am grateful for those who came before me and those who will come after. I now present to you in the spirit of Namo a spoken word piece entitled, What's Love Got to Do with It? What's love got to do with it? Everything. To the Moors, it's the highest principle known to mankind. And though I spit with the instrument of truth and have no love, well, these words are blind. What's love got to do with it? Absolutely everything. Especially when a poor man proposes on both knees without a wedding ring. Love, it has no ends nor corners. Vocalized by musical performers, no competitor. Written and spoken in metaphor, the prey and predator. Published in news articles, magazines, and journals. Stored in neurological reservoirs. I got a Love Jones and a blues for Nina. When I heard the news about Tina, hope the industry won't turn her legacy into a broken record. The lost sheep deserves a faithful shepherd. Is there love in basketball? The utterance of these four letters after a glass of alcohol. What's love got to do with it? Over 1,000 elected, voted in of perfectly selected black public officials, watchdog groups with dog whistles. She nervously approaches the podium in a state of hypertension. Excess sodium secretes from her brow. The flyer failed to mention freedom now. What's love got to do with it? Watchdog groups with dog whistles. Misguided North Korean missiles. American troops versus domestic sectarian groups. Early school dismissal. Mass shooter. Overcrowded class. No updated computer or Wi-Fi in close proximity. Tech gap. Uncivil attack on capitalism. Who is the upriser? Racially biased facial recognition. Identified the looter. Main course before the appetizer. Auto workers and nurses on strike. Military recruiter on site. Push up the visor and follow the light. Watchdog groups with dog whistles informing the right. Leftist mutes pack the streets using sign language for political and economic ceremonial rights. Writes the Associate Press. She wears leadership, but this isn't considered the appropriate dress. Watchdog groups with dog whistles expose another socialist nest. Man, don't spank the kids, spank the parents. Exterminate these rodents and pests. Ongoing legal disputes over gender identity. Blue-collar workers in white-collar suits. Hate is our natural enemy. Love is our natural remedy. The essential element. Love, a part of every aspect of human development, the treasure buried in the sediment. Is love ever irrelevant? But when we exclude love from our choices, we silence and muzzle other voices. Love is sacrificial, more solid than bone gristle. When a relationship is entered for the collective will, we give up pieces of ourselves, a divine directive to heal. So what's love got to do with it? Everything.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Man, I wrote that. That was phenomenal. That was phenomenal. When you were younger, did you ever wonder where teachers went when the day ended? I did. Turns out they have lives. They have moments. Some like gardening. Some like to travel. Our next speaker likes to run things over in her Jeep. She's a strong and courageous individual who understands that life can be hard. But she approaches each day with the grit and tenacity to fight through life's challenges, and by doing so, has taught me how to do the same. If you listen in closely, I believe you will also learn how to run over life's problems as well. Please welcome Danielle Barton. Absolutely.
Just like that, I put a gun to my head, wishing I had the courage to be dead. I'm selfish, so you say, but what about you understanding I don't want to live another day? I guess I should live in misery. It's better than you living without me. Now who's selfish? Let's wait and see. In time, you will get over me. Just hold on, things will get better. Okay, whatever. I don't understand why you can't let me be. I want the chance to set myself free. Let's work together. 1, 2, 3. Dead is dead. You won't stop me. A person with suicidal idealizations thinks about death by the hour, minute, day, you name it. And oftentimes after a person has passed away and taken their own life, you hear people frequently say like, wow, they were just smiling and happy and were planning for the future yesterday. Like, and now they have passed on today. Like, they just don't understand or can't comprehend like how that happened right underneath their eyes. Well, it happened because that person who has those suicidal thoughts was actually dead. And I know that because I'm dead, even though I pretend to be alive, sitting here doing it all in strive, listening to the mundane notions, thinking about a variety of emotions. I'm dead, yet I'm still being killed. You see me as others usually do, happy. But that's a lie I'm forced to live through. I smile for the pain. Isn't that insane? I'm dead, yet I'm still being killed. No one is here to look through my eyes. Sadly, I wear a disguise. I'm dead, yet I'm still being killed. So you probably thinking at this point, like, if you're dead and you're still being killed and you feel this strongly about suicide, why haven't you went ahead and killed yourself? I mean, what has been stopping you? Well, what's stopping me is hope. Hope that my life will end abruptly. I'm tired of being in control. Here it is, I'm giving you my soul. I wear a smile louder than a car crash. Sadly, it's lighter than ash. I hope that by coming here today, that me talking is letting you know that it's okay to talk about suicide. And if you're having a rough day, that's okay. Because I want you to have hope that tomorrow will be better. Thank you.
Thank you again, Ms. Barton, for that transparency and vulnerability, and we really, really, really appreciate it. And it just highlights that even in these types of environments, we can have conversations about real and important things that matter. So once again, thank you. As our institutional reentry coordinator, this next presenter works in a role that requires a focus on detail. And it's that same focus that translates into her empathy and care for everyone she meets and everything that she does. Join me as we listen to a poem she wrote titled "The Nature of Love is the Love of Nature," along with actual photos that she has taken herself, paired with an instrumental that was created by our executive producer for music, Mr. Justin Bonds. Ladies and gentlemen, Shelia Pigmon.
It is in the swell of the waves, the wings in the air, the snow-covered peaks, and cotton candy clouds. It is in the sun like diamonds on the water, the furry bundle in my lap, rainbows at sunset, and a furry creature that I would never imagine reaching for my hand. It is beauty in the trees. So close you can see the emotion in their eyes. The rumbling purr that soothes the soul. And a rare creature in repose. It is a message of peace in an unexpected place. Flowers by moonlight. Graceful swimmers in the sea. And a majestic beast that makes its points naturally. It is an unusual perch, the sweetest of friends, the slowest of paces, and the reminders of the earth's fragility. The love of nature is the nature of love.
Thank you so much for that, and I need you to take some pictures for me. Those were amazing. So I first met our next presenter when I began my job at our camp's vocational enterprise factory, and our coworkers had just introduced me to this guy and said, "Hey man, you should hear him, he can sing." And judging a book by its cover, I was like, no, don't make him do it, he doesn't have to. But they insisted. And so next thing I know, this guy stands up and delivers a rendition of Amazing Grace that for a few brief moments turned our work site into an old wooden chapel. Turns out, my coworkers were wrong. This man did not sing. Somebody got it. He sang. That's right, that's right. Please welcome Matthew Mason.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see, now I see, now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour, the very moment
I believe, through many, many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace, only grace, will lead me home, please lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first
Man, I was raised in the church, so you better sit down. We might have a problem. That was amazing. Thank you, Matthew. So listen, this point in the program, we have to take a break, brief pause. Let me give you guys very clear instructions. What's going to happen is, once I'm finished, we're going to line up for count. So as you look around the gym, this is for residents only. Visitors, you don't have to be counted. As you look around, there are various numbers, starting with one house in this back wall here, lining all the way around the gym. So in just a moment, the rec team is going to cue up the lights, and when I say go, all right, when I say go, you're going to go to the number that corresponds with your housing unit, stand in a straight line, and we will be counted, and remain there until we get the all clear. During that time, I'm going to ask that visitors remain seated for just a few moments so that we can get the count right, and then after that, we will have a break and reconvene at 11:15. Any questions? Go.